Hey everybody, we're back. Class 6. Cannot believe that we're on class 6 already. What a great run that we've had so far. I've loved it. I hope you have loved it, whether you're watching it live or you're watching this in a replay. Everyone is welcome to this class. This is a free series of childbirth classes that are taking place between December 1st and December 14th. And tonight is class 6 on the 6th of December. And we meet every night from 5:30 Pacific time or 8:30 Eastern time, or whatever that equates to where you live. And we talk about birth and get prepared for childbirth, whether you are expecting to give birth in the future, or you are someone who works with people expecting to give birth, or you're just curious about the topic. You are welcome here. What I ask of you, if you can, is to get involved in the chat and ask questions, be active, take notes. I love what I do and I love helping people, and it works best with some interactive content, which up to today has been amazing, right? All of you familiar faces in the chat. I see Lizbeth, I see Tara, Nicole, Hunter, Jeff, Monique. Oh my gosh, so many. I feel like we're a little crew now, and we are welcoming people who are not in the chat but are watching every day. Hello to you. I got emails from some of you with your quiz answers last night for our giveaway, and I see some new faces. I saw, let's see, Marcella, you said you've never done this before and it should be fun. It is going to be fun, I promise. 37 weeks pregnant. Awesome. Welcome to Marcella. And welcome to, gosh, so many new faces. Pam G, Free Spirit. I got your comments today. I love that you're able to join us live today. Welcome. And Adam is back and Christina is back. Christina, if you are an insider, you read the email, was our winner from last night. Christina, you were our big winner. So look for that email from me and get in touch with what you want to choose. We're doing the same giveaway tonight, and I will just go ahead and jump into what we're going to give away. So if you are the winner, and I'll give you all the details on how to enter, you can choose from one of these. Let me grab them. Fun hospital gowns in the size and selection. I did a product review of these video a few weeks ago. I don't really know when it was, but either this, which are very fun gowns, or my very favorite water bottle, which has the amazing long straw. I'm going to show this again later today. And if you want to see those, there are links down below, along with, I put all my favorites of things down below if you want to see. Yes, open to Canadians as well. So US and Canada. Sorry, I should have clarified that. Thank you, Ruru26261, and good to see you again. I remember your handle. Yay. Christina says, oh, yay. Raise the roof. Awesome. Okay, guys, we've got some good stuff to talk about today. So if you haven't said hello, I didn't share my screen. I feel like this is running like a machine now, back behind the scenes, but here we go. If you haven't had a chance to say hello, introduce yourself. I know a lot of you have already met each other in the chat, but let us know where you're watching from if you haven't. I love this. Jeff says, my wife loves your 4 things tote. Yes, I love it too. But it's so sad. My number 2 thing on my 4 things tote, can you guys see it? I'll grab it. So here's my 4 things tote. I actually got all of these for my some family members last year too, but I designed my own. Number 2, so sad, right? So sad. But number 3, of course, we're doing this now. And then number 4, I'll explain it. Just a little side story before we get started, that ever since I was a kid, I was always wanting to be busy. Like my hands would actually hurt if I wasn't busy. And my mom said that I was always doing 50 million things. So It's still the same. Here I am doing 50 million things. I love it. I love to be busy. Yay. Welcome everybody. Tonight we're doing just like we have. Same structure every night so that you can find, so it's really predictable and so you know what to expect out of these classes. We spend a good amount of time talking about how birth works. That's where we get into the anatomy, the physiology of birth, and cover all of those topics in that part of the class. And then every class I cover a coping strategy, because it's my goal that if you are going into labor and birth, that you have like a virtual toolbox of coping strategies that you can just pick from and choose and layer. Do you guys remember talking about layering and cakes? I'm actually talking about cakes again, which is funny today because I'm not a huge cake lover, but they make a good analogy when you talk about things. So we're doing another coping strategy. And though we didn't have a ton of practice time last night, we always do at least 30 seconds of practice at the end. And I try to have time for questions and try to get through them all. Sometimes I don't get through them all, and I'm not the smoothest with my questions, but so far you guys have been really understanding. So, and then of course, this weekend, yesterday and today, we're doing that giveaway. So in our game show portion, we're going to get the details of the giveaway. Are you guys excited to jump into how birth works today? Today, let me know in the chat. It's so helpful to see your chats coming in too, guys. You know, when you're teaching virtually and you don't have screens on, it's like, it's so hard to know, is anyone out there? I mean, I can see that 40 people are watching, but when you put things in chat, it's just like, it's so great for this teacher. Yay, Judy is eating cakes. So perfect food, Judy. Kate said onions have layers too. Yeah, parfait. Ooh, I do like parfait. Okay, I gotta think about this. I gotta think about some options. Awesome. And thank you, Hunter, for helping me keep up with the time. So helpful. Tonight, we are going to talk about the Lamaze 6 healthy birth practices. My flavor of my tea is the same as yesterday. I am on a roll with this decaf ginger peach tea from Republic of Tea. So I'm doing that. I actually would drink coffee because it's more of my favorite, but tea tonight. Day six healthy birth practices. See what I did there? Totally goes together. The 6 healthy birth practices, let me turn my page so I have everything ready. They are a series of 6 items that the thought leaders at Lamaze a few years ago, just some awesome childbirth educators and researchers, wanted to put together a way to easily say healthy birth practices. A healthy birth would include these items to kind of simplify things down. And that is how Lamaze came up with, or how these 6 healthy birth practices were created. Now, I love teaching them because that is what brought me to Lamaze in the first place. I remember I was already a doula for a few years, and I realized that I would like to become certified in childbirth education to give more extensive help to clients and teach and all that. And I read the 6 healthy birth practices, and I was like, wow, yeah, that made sense to me. I should, dive into that practice. And so I love teaching about them, but I want to give a little disclaimer or give a little story before I go into them. Think of this as a recipe. Here's where the cake comes in. So think of it as a recipe for cake, or anything else, right? A recipe that gives you, these are the ingredients for making this product. But when you cook, sometimes you go to the refrigerator and you're like, oh no, I ran out of a certain thing, right? You run out of eggs and you're like, Googling substitute for eggs in a cake. And I think you can substitute like flaxseed, and you get water and like let them get all gooey and turns into egg-like only for certain things. Probably not for a cake. I don't bake much, so I probably shouldn't use cake as an analogy, but you guys get it. Sometimes when you're cooking, you have to make substitutions and you have to roll with it, right? Things happen, and if we have, our goal is to finish this recipe, we got to get it done. So that's what I think about when I talk about these Lamaze 6 healthy birth practices. They are the ideals. They're ideal. Will you be able to make all of them happen in your birth? Maybe, maybe not. But if we don't have a starting point of ideals, then we don't have like something that we're aiming for, right? We're just kind of like going along without a certain path. Because I want to start with that, because sometimes I get people that sort of feel like, ooh, I don't think that's going to be possible in my hospital, or I have another condition, I have other health concerns that don't let me do this or that, or and that's okay. That can happen, and I understand. This is ideal, and we do the best with what we've got. Okay, does that make sense? Let me know in the chat. So there are 6 healthy birth practices. I'm going to show you an awesome free infographic that Lamaze provides their educators like me that we can give out. And if we were in person, I would be walking around the room right now and handing one to Samantha and Hunter and Monique and Keisha, but I'm not. So instead, what I will do is give you the link to it. So don't spend time Googling it. I can point you right in the direction in the insider email so that you have it. I want to show it to you, but I'm not going to leave it on the screen, because if you're like me and you're trying to learn online and you've got somebody talking and you have a bunch of words, you're torn between, should I read this or should I listen? I don't know. That's how I am. I'm like, I want to pause the person talking so I can read and go back and forth. So I want to show it to you. Know that if you're on the insider list, you will get it via an email. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, the insider list, link is down below, and you fill out a quick form and you're part of the email that I send usually the day of, right before class. Okay, so let me show you that infographic. And sharing my screen. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to make myself small so that you guys can see it. So it's really a great infographic with the 6 healthy practices, more information. There is more information up here about research. And then what I also love is that the studies, if you're a researcher, like I know one of our students, was it Samantha? I can't remember if it was you. I got an email that I will reply to all the emails looking for research on last night's topic, which I will get back to you and include in the insider email too about monitoring. So anyway, here is the research. Lamaze always follows the research. So anyway, so this will come out to you, but I'm going to, did anyone start reading it? Was anyone tempted? I want to talk about 6 healthy birth practices. The first one, which is one of my favorites. However, Samantha Smith, thank you. One of my favorites, and also sometimes hard to achieve, okay? And that is letting labor start on its own. So as an educator and a doula and someone who has seen so many births happen, I personally have a very strong trust that the body usually, that's the key word, works. Usually works the way it does. You know, we've been giving birth a long time. It usually works, not always, usually. And so part of that is usually the body knows how to go into labor now on its own. Now, there are certainly times when induction is critical to the health of mom and baby. Yes. Are there times when people choose to be induced for whatever reasons? Yes. What this says is really for optimal healthy birth, we will allow labor to begin on its own. Now, little side note here. When on my YouTube channel, I get a list of the top videos that people watching your channel are watching. It's kind of interesting, right? So it's like your people. So like so you guys here in the chat, maybe not you specifically, but people that watch your channel also watch these videos. And so I looked at them the other day, like, oh, what are people watching? I kind of had an idea, but, and I think they give me like 15. The vast majority of them were videos about how to start labor at home, how to naturally induce labor. I was like, oh my gosh, it was so eye-opening to me. I did not realize that this was such a hot topic for videos. And then, of course, I went down the YouTube rabbit hole and just found so many people, educators and doulas and people that have given birth, that are making videos about how to start labor on your own, naturally induced labor. Which the interesting part about it is if you try to naturally induce labor, it's still not letting labor begin on its own, right? So I'm very conflicted about this topic as far as I want to put a video out, like to say, let labor, like the benefits of this. It's complicated. But there has been a lot of research saying if you can let labor begin on its own, it is the healthiest way to go. Of course, remember our substitutions and our exceptions. Okay. I'm going to talk about inductions also on its own, which is really important topic. I don't know exactly which day, but it's coming up. Let me know if you're with me, if you're understanding what I'm talking about in the chat. Okay, number 1, let labor begin on its own. Number 2, you guys are so aware of it because I've already taught it. It's this one. The importance of walking, moving, and changing position. Yes. Movement. Movement is a key healthy birth practice in the Lamaze 6 healthy birth practices. And I know that you guys here who was that class 2? I can't remember now. I need to have like a little list so I can refer back to it. That movement is key. And we know why. Because we need to get the baby down through the pelvis. We need to change up the pelvis shape. We need to give our best movement that we can. So important. Okay. So number 3, because that one is movement. We don't even need to cover that anymore. Number 3 is bring a loved one, a friend, or a doula to provide continuous support during labor. Or you can bring, well, right now, sometimes we can only bring one person with us at the hospital because of COVID. But what we're really saying there is that continuous support in labor is so important. It's key. And there's been a lot of research around it. So very important. Now, the exciting thing is that this, number 3, is going to be our topic that we're covering for our coping strategy tonight. So continuous support, very important. And I'm going to go into detail when we get to that section. Awesome. I'm going to take a pause. I do see a comment here from Monique. You could do one of those help baby engage and get baby ready for labor to start. Yeah. It's so hard, that topic of trying to get labor to start on its own. Trying to get labor to start naturally. Yeah. Okay, 3. Those 3 make sense, right? Are we feeling like those make sense? This next one is probably the one that is a little bit like, not controversial, but people are like, but what about? So I want to be really specific about the wording. So I'm going to read it directly. It's avoid interventions that are not medically necessary. So, and another way you could say it is avoid routine intervention. So intervention is when something is done that is not the course of natural labor. So, and examples of interventions would be like breaking the water, actually continuous monitoring. Monitoring we talked about last night is actually considered an intervention. Some people even say that requiring or suggesting a hospital gown is worn is an intervention. Adding Pitocin, adding medicine to speed up labor, those kind of things. Those are all episiotomy. And we'll talk about each of these, really more in depth when we talk about them on their own. But intervention in general, if it's medically necessary, that's thumbs up. There's no problem with that. That's not controversial, medically necessary. The part of the routine, and to me, the easiest one to talk about when we talk about this is water breaking. So there are midwives and doctors out there that break water as part of routine. So add 5 centimeters, 4 centimeters, 6 centimeters. If they check dilation and you still have intact membranes, they'll say, let's go ahead and break water. And if you use your brain's analogy, anyone, you might say, what are the benefits, right? What are the risks? You might go through that whole decision-making process to find out, is this medically necessary? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just routine. And unfortunately, there's more routine than we are made aware of. So that's why knowing those strategies to talk about options with our providers is so important. So important. Okay, so that's number 4. Number 5 is avoid giving birth on your back and to follow your urge to push. Man, this one is also a little bit tricky, I gotta say. So again, this is like our best case, our perfect cake, everything going well. Well, the reality is that avoid giving birth on your back and kind of in a semi-reclined position is one of the most common ways to give birth in North America. And wanting a different position for birth can sometimes be tricky, can sometimes be hard, can sometimes really have to do with who your care provider is and whether they support alternative birthing positions, like hands and knees, like squat, like a more upright pushing position. So that one can be a little bit tricky. Also, following your natural urge to push doesn't happen if you have an epidural that's very dense, that has a really strong coverage. Sometimes you don't feel an urge to push. So again, this is an ideal scenario. Certainly, it's not saying that epidurals should not be a choice. Epidurals definitely should be a choice for people. It's another tool in our toolbox. But if we have the ability to avoid giving birth flat on your back and listen to your body's urge to push, then we should. Cool. Okay, the last one I feel like is like the biggest no-brainer and so important, and yet it sometimes is a little bit hard to have happen. So advocating for yourself, and number 6 is so key, and that is keep baby with you. So baby with a parent, baby with the person giving birth, especially in the first hour, is ideal. But baby and parent is so important. Okay, I just ripped right through these pretty fast. What are your thoughts? Are you feeling like, okay, this is a structure that I can get my brain around. This is helpful. I'm looking forward to getting that infographic. Are you have other thoughts, questioning some of them or wondering? Melissa has a question. Let's put that on the screen. What are your options for not giving birth on your back? Because my doctor said I have to once pushing. Yeah, Melissa, this is very common. So don't feel like you have the only doctor out there that's still doing this. Very common. It is, well, first of all, we're going to have a whole class on pushing. So I want to make sure that you tune in for that. Also, I don't know exact day I have it set up, but I'm going to go into like some real details about pushing. Your doctor probably is not familiar and skilled with catching babies in any other position. That's usually what we see. So that is when doctors are used to some way, skilled in one way. Sometimes it's to their benefit if we follow that. So it might be worth a couple of more conversations with them. Also, if it could be that you can push in an upright position until the final stage of pushing, where you're like, the baby's very close to being delivered, and then you can give the final pushes on your back. But it should be a conversation that they have with you, where you say, well, what are the benefits? What are the risks? Tell me more about my options. Yeah. And if you have an epidural that is really strong, sometimes that's our only option if we don't have movement in our legs. But if you don't have an epidural or like IV narcotics or something, you should have more options. But again, I'm going to get more into that on the pushing day. Yes. Yes. Anastasia says, no one can make you do anything. That is tricky, Anastasia. The hardest thing I see is that no one can make you do things in labor, but healthcare providers can be strongly encouraging and strong and not telling you your options. And so that's where you feel like you're made to do something, right? And so then it's like, what do? I feel like I didn't have any options. So really having a good strategy for facilitating conversation and expressing your desires and talking to healthcare providers in advance is key, is really important. Okay, let's see. Here's another question. What is Lamaze? Is it medically recognized? Oh, you mentioned some doctors don't always follow Lamaze recommendations. Yeah, great question. So Lamaze is a childbirth education certification organization. So Lamaze certifies educators like me. So someone, people can just teach childbirth without being certified, but a certification organization has standards that they make sure all of their instructors are following research, are teaching essential content, that kind of thing. So it's not that Lamaze isn't recognized by doctors, it's that evidence-based medicine isn't necessarily practiced by doctors in especially in obstetrics. So as educators, we teach the evidence, but sometimes that doesn't correspond to practice. And so that's where the tricky part happens. That's really tricky. Yeah. Yes. Knowing evidence and knowing your options and having conversations with providers in advance is ideal. Now, in this stage of COVID and not having a lot of in-person appointments and not having the ability to bring our partner with us to appointments, that can make things more difficult, because especially if you have a short appointment and you feel rushed and you don't have your questions right there and your partner's not there to like help you remember and facilitate, some of these conversations can be difficult in the beginning. I mean, not in the beginning, to initiate. So that is why the power of childbirth education, right? That you guys are learning about these issues. You have time. I mean, what I really hope that each of you is able to do is, after each of these classes, maybe not right after, but after you have some time to think about it, hopefully talk to your partner, your support person, about what you learned in the class. And then, have the ability, or have not the ability, take the time to have conversations about preferences and options and fears and worries and things that you're excited about, and really give time thinking about the birth that you're wanting to go towards, right? When I talked about these 6 healthy birth practices are that ideal that we recommend that you sort of target. Well, that's a best case recommendation. It's good to know options for what if something comes up that you no longer have these options, then what? And how do we do that? And how do we make those recommendations with our providers? If anything that you are listening to right now is like making you think, you're glad you're here, I want to remind you to hit and smash, according to my kids, the like button, because that helps other people who are coming onto the content know that it's helpful. So it's helpful to me. So click it. I forgot to mention that last night. I was having so much fun last night, guys. So good. Okay, we're halfway there. Woo! I just had to make that reference again. Okay, here is a quiz. We are going to do quiz time. Now, I'm going to put on my game show. It's not really a game show. It's kind of a game show portion of our class. This is our quiz. So again, just like last night, I'm going to be giving away your choice, whoever the winner is. Also, just so you know, behind the scenes, I was thinking I should probably give you some insight. I take everybody who answered correctly, and then I count up how many there were. Then I put it into random.org and it pulls a number. And then I start from whoever the first one was and I go up, and that's how I choose the winner. So I try to be very fair, not give any favorites, though you guys all did a great job. Everyone who answered last night, especially knowing that my favorite color is orange. I do wear it. I have worn it every day. I'm trying to keep up the streak. So I might be repeating coming up here because we are going to meet every day till the 14th. Who's ready for the quiz? Put in the chat. I'm going to take a sip of tea while you let me know if you're ready for the quiz. Likely, you might want to take notes. Ready. Okay, Pam is ready. Kate is ready. My favorite color is orange. Orange, are you? Yes, close to peach. Close. Jeff is ready. Keisha's ready. Great. Okay, so my quiz is a little bit selfish because here's the thing. I have been teaching healthy birth practices since I became a Lamaze educator almost 10 years ago. And during my in-person class, I usually play music, or I do a little game where I play a song and then everybody has to guess which healthy birth practice it goes with. Okay. So I play a song and then people raise their hand and do that. Okay. Michael says, my partner's sleeping. I think she's ready. You got to be 2 people in this. You got to be both people tonight. Go Christina's partner. Okay. So here's the story. I love music. And so I set up this game. Again, I've been teaching it for like 10 years. And when I set it up, that was 10 years ago. And I picked music that was the first thing that came to me that went with these 6 classes. Well, I was teaching a partners only class. So it was no pregnant people in the room, all support people. And this is actually the beginning of the Supporting Her course. So if you guys I usually talk about it, but it is my signature course look at that. It's for partners, it's online. And I was teaching my in-person course of this. So big group of partners, and I play the songs. And I get to the song that I use for Let Labor Begin on Its Own. which if we didn't have copyright issues, I would play for you right now, but we can't do that on YouTube because I'll get in trouble. But it was Guns N' Roses, Patience. So let me know in the chat if you know this song. But if you do know the song, it starts out with a whistling portion that like everybody knows, except I think I had a whole group of people who had not been exposed to Guns N' Roses, and I was aging and I needed to bring my music down to the younger generation. So I'm going to tell you the songs that I have chosen for these 6. And this is what I need for you to do to be entered to win this quiz, or this entered for the drawing. I would like for you to take time and I love that some people know it, some people don't know Patience. It's Axl who's whistling. You can picture it if you know it. If you don't, you're totally clueless. I need your help. So I want you to be creative and figure out a song that you would put to these 6. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what I used. So you can't use any of these. You're not going to be able to use Patience. So, and I'll send, with the insider. So if you're not writing it down and you want, it's going to be in the insider email too. But for Labor Begins on Its Own, I use Patience. For movement, so walking and moving, I used Moves Like Jagger, Maroon 5. For Bring a Loved One, I used Umbrella by Rihanna, which some people thought was kind of a stretch. But if you listen to that song, you can understand continuous support, the umbrella, right? Get me? For Avoid Interventions That Are Not Medically Necessary, I used an oldie, but a goodie. Can't Touch This, right? MC Hammer. That's amazing. Maybe not. Maybe you might have never heard of MC Hammer. And then Avoid Giving Birth on Your Back. So upright positions. I used Bob Marley classic, Get Up, Stand Up. And then the Keep Baby With You was Let's Stay Together by Al Green, which I know is also old, but a classic. So is anyone, do those even sound familiar to you all? I want you to give me your thoughts on it. Be creative. You can use any type of music. Keisha, gospel music? Of course. You can use any genre. There's no winner. The only thing you have to do to be entered is to give me your creative ideas. So every idea is going to be helpful to you. Okay. And we are going to talk about music on another day for coping strategies, because that music is amazing. Awesome. Thank you guys in the chat for knowing some of these songs. Yay. Get Up, Stand Up, right? Bob Marley. Oh, thank you, Jeff. All good songs. Can't Touch This, right? Tara, you were thinking Can't Touch This? High five. Boom. You and I are on the same page. Cool. So, it's a fun activity. It's creative, and it's going to get you thinking about the healthy birth practices. Okay. So use any type of music you want. It's no right and wrong answers, but I am totally going to read all of them. Yes. Okay. Before I forget, because I did forget last night, got myself a note to tell you. Last night's, if you're following along in the workbook, remember this is the workbook that I use, link down below. Last night's class was page 16 and 39. And then tonight's class is page 31. And that's for continuous support. So I meant to mention that. I meant to mention the like button, which I have no visual on that right now, the way the streaming software I'm using. So all I can see is comments. So I have no idea if it's been hit. So I think that's why I never mind. Yeah. So get your emails in before next an hour before class next week. I'll pull the winner right before class next week. So you don't have to do it after tonight, especially East Coasters. Cool. Here we are, 20 minutes for me to talk about continuous support and do a practice. I can do it. We can do it together. I'm a doula, and it is in the fiber of my being that I believe that continuous support is so key. It's like, have you guys ever done those discussions? I don't know, discussions, that's not the right word, but have you thought about those ideas, or this I know is true? What was that that was a thing going around. I feel like people wrote about it, or there were memes. I don't know. But what I know is true is that continuous support is key. So if by some reason anyone here or anyone watching this replay that does not have someone who is going to be there to provide continuous support, so doesn't have a partner, doesn't have a doula, doesn't have someone, please find someone. And if you can't find a family member, a friend, a partner that can be there with you, reach out to a doula organization. The doula, I should put this on a banner. I'm going to put this out right now. The doula website that I really like, it's like a directory of doulas. Doulamatch.net is a great place to find doulas, and that it shows their certifications, their experience, read testimonials. You can find me on there. Not that you're looking for me, but as an example, it's a great resource, especially if you're looking for a doula or don't have continuous support, because continuous support is key. And as you guys probably can understand, I think it's so critical that I created a whole online course to try to help partners be ready for this role, which is awesome. Oh, great. Samantha found her doula there. Yay. That's awesome. Oh, Keisha, in your country, there are no doulas. I am sorry about that there aren't doulas where you are. But continuous support from anyone is helpful. Having someone that is prepared is even better, but having someone who is on the same page and prepared for their role is excellent. Okay. Yes. It is. Okay. I've got so many thoughts around this. I have an outline, and I'm like, I need to stick to my outline so I don't go crazy talking about continuous support. First of all, one of the misunderstandings that people have with continuous support. Two things that I think are big myths. Number one, the word continuous does not mean that the person in labor can't be left alone. I think there's power sometimes when people are left alone. Laboring person in the bathroom, dark lights, put candles on, and it can be golden. But when you leave someone alone in labor, support person needs to say, hey, I'm going to be right outside the door, and if you need anything, I'm here. But having that time of peace and quiet and not being stared at can be amazing. So just know that continuous doesn't necessarily mean you have to be like face to face forever. Okay, Tim, I just saw a soup. I have a sound effect I have to use. Tim is back. Tim, I've been telling your story all day. For those of you who have not met Tim, he joined us in labor with his partner 2 days and then reported back that they had their baby boy. How awesome. And now Tim sending a super sticker. Give me a second. You guys in chat, talk to Tim. I have to find an amazing sound effect for that. I didn't have my sound effects ready. I had no idea. Tim, I hope you guys are doing awesome. Oh, I should have planned a better sound effect. No, that's not one. That's not a good one. How about this one? Thank you. That's me clapping. Yay. Thank you, Tim, for your support. Also, thank you for sharing your story. If I would love an email to me, Tim. I want to hear a little bit more of your story. So please share. If you haven't watched the last couple nights class, watch and you'll see Tim's story. It's awesome. Okay, so back to doulas, one of my favorite topics, and partners, one of my favorite topics. Planning and preparing is key. That means having real conversations with the person you're supporting or the person who's going to be supporting you about what does good support look like? What do you think would work for you? What are you worried about? How can they best support you? Now, the person giving birth, you might not know, you might be like, I don't know. I have no clue what's going to help. But if you really start talking about sort of how do you deal with pain and how do you normally like to be comforted when you are going through either a challenging physical situation or a challenging emotional situation, really spending time to have those conversations are going to make that continuous support just right on. The other thing is when you are in labor and you are actually doing the work of labor, you have to communicate with each other. And sometimes it's hard, okay? Especially the person going through labor sometimes doesn't want to be verbal. So, nonverbal communication, no, or back, come back, here, just paying attention and being open to those kinds of communication. And being open to that is important because, in order to be ready for those kind of communications, the person that's providing support has to be focused. And it's long. Can be a long time to stay focused and be there and be on the ready and be watching. So it can be exhausting, but it's so key. So key. Awesome. I'm just checking the chat for any kind of love that you guys are chatting and communicating and connecting. And that's just the coolest thing to me. I got to share a story that if I don't think I have shared this in a video, I share it a lot because it's just blows my mind story. It just really, when I first started supporting her, my thought was that I would talk to all of the doctors and the midwives that I worked with and knew in Atlanta, and actually my original thought was to sell it to the practice. So sell it to this, OB practice, and then they buy it and then they could give it out to their clients as here's a way to prepare. Because if they have clients that are ready and prepared, it's going to help them too, right? So it's a win-win and a great benefit. And so that was I was pounding the pavement when I first started. My partner and I were just out there, just pounding the pavement, knocking on the doors, having these conversations. And I went and had a meeting with a doctor that I'd worked with before, and I knew his practice and everything. And I was sharing with him about supporting her. And he was like, so this is for partners, the dads. And I said, yeah, that's what this is for. He said, yeah, dads, they're just useless in labor. They're clueless. And I was thinking okay, and he's like, yeah, I don't want to spend money on that. They're useless. And of course my brain just exploded and I was like, what? no. I was so mad. And I guess it was good because it just motivated me to keep up with my intention of getting the word out and supporting partners and helping to prepare, because partners are not useless. They are amazing and are critical. And I mean, why would you not want to prepare like someone who's capable and playing a key role in this experience that it's their experience too? Can you guys tell how passionate I feel about this and how that story? What do you think of that story? I'm going to calm down. We've got 10 minutes. Let's keep going. Sorry. It's important. And it's been harder than ever for partners this right now during the pandemic. So if you are feeling like this is challenging to provide that continuous support because you haven't been able to go to some of the prenatal appointments or any maybe, and feeling kind of on the sidelines, it is kind of that it is challenging like that. But don't let that stop you from being ready and being awesome in this supporting role. So that is, that is, I can't overstate the importance of continuous support. And Judy said, LOL, isn't the point of the course to teach them how not to be useless? Right. Oh my gosh. I'm like, that's why I made the course, so that they have tools and have strategies and are ready to go. That's so bad. There's a lot of that out there. So yeah. Yes. Oh, Tim says everything was canceled in their area and had to switch facilities so I could attend appointments. Yeah, that's good you had that option. It's so hard to not be able to attend appointments. I actually recommend, if possible, to have your phone. If you're the person that's the pregnant person, have your phone ready to go. Just call your partner. A couple that I was working with recently, he would just drive her to her appointment, sit in the car, and then they'd get on FaceTime, and then she'd walk in, just kind of like this. And then he had all of his questions, the questions that they were going to talk about, ready to go. So he could prompt her and remind her what, they were talking about. And I was sharing that with another class, and then another class said, their doctor doesn't allow video, only allows audio. And we're in a hard situation right now. So we just got to make it work as much as possible. And one final thing, just thinking about adding a doula. If you're thinking about adding a doula and your hospital or wherever you're giving birth only allows one person, so it doesn't allow a doula, there is a lot of benefit to having a virtual doula. So that would be a doula who would be on FaceTime or who's on call for you. I've actually had a lot of conversations with doulas who have supported people virtually, and I've talked to or heard from families that have had doulas support them virtually. So it's kind of like, an expert on call, watching, seeing what's happening, and being able to talk to them. So if you have questions about this, go ahead and always send me an email. I forgot to put my email for the quiz. Let me put that across the screen just so you guys have that. Yay. Cool. So Jeff says, Vanderbilt has been amazing for us. That's so good to know. I used to work in the Department of Anesthesiology when I was a student there. So it's really funny that, I don't know, seems funny to me. I didn't know I would end up being a doula, but I'm glad to hear that they're doing a good job there. Since it's my old home, very, very nice. Judy says, my husband was only able to attend the last 3 minutes of my first ultrasound. Oh, the last 3 minutes, like they would only let him in for the last 3 minutes. That's hard. Yeah, it's hard. You guys, if you're feeling like it's hard, it is hard. So you're right. We have 6 more minutes, 5 more minutes, and we're going to do practice and any questions. If you don't get any questions, don't get your questions here, or you think about one, you can always contact me at this email address. You can always put a comment below the video. And let's talk about practicing. So let me just hide my banner. You guys have my email address. Getting all my stuff hooked up for 30 seconds. And let's talk it over what we're going to do. So, we're layering, and we're not able to layer our sleep in denial, right? We can do that before, but we're layering. We've got our limp and loose. We've got our breathing. We have our movement. We added last night. What did we add last night? You guys who were here, let me know what we added. And today we're going to add continuous support. So if you have a support person with you, or if you're a support person, I really want this just to be about, working together, and in any way that you can make a suggestion, check a body language, doing the mirror strategy that we talked about. Lizbeth got it. Vocalization. That's right. So adding vocalizations. Nicole said mooing. That's right. Mooing. So pretend either that your support person is here, or how you would work with a support person. I wanted to show this because this is so key. Not this particular water bottle. You guys know this. I love this, but just a water bottle in general. When contractions are really picking up and working really hard, if the support person can just put the water bottle like near your face, you don't have to say, take a sip, drink some water. Do you want a sip? No, nonverbal. We don't need to talk about it at all. All you're going to do is just put the water there, and they see it and they drink. Okay. So a straw is key. Maybe not this particular water bottle, but something with the straw makes it easier. So if you are a support person watching this right now, whether or not your partner is sleeping, after the 30 seconds, the first thing I want you to do is make the motion and offer water. Okay. Make that water motion. I'm watching to see if you're following. Okay. So layer up your strategies. We're going to do it for 30 seconds. Remember, I'll meet you on the other side. Let's do it, guys. Here comes the contraction. It's not working. Why is it not working? I'm pressing it. Oh, it almost started. That was so anticlimactic. Okay, let's try it. Back. You guys don't know it, but while that music is going on, I'm like dancing, and then I realized, is there any chance that you're seeing me do this? I don't think so. That's what I was doing. How did it go? Did you pretend to have a sip of water? Did you offer water? Let me know anything in the chat. Share your movement that you used. Did you vocalize? Did you loosey-goosey? I want to know. And I'm looking up my final thoughts that I want to make sure that I share with you guys. Sharing this with people that you think might find it helpful is awesome. It's an excellent way to support the channel, to support my efforts in bringing a free class. I really appreciate it. I'm actually putting together a little, I want to say quiz, but no, that's not, a questionnaire to get some feedback from everybody. So look for that coming up, because it's my intention of figuring out the best way that I can support pregnant people. So if you are liking this class, if you're liking the format, giving some feedback about structure and stuff, I am going to ask if you don't mind to take a little questionnaire in a little bit. So, but sharing with, someone let me know they shared inside a pregnancy app that they were a forum that they were on. Someone has been sharing inside Reddit, which is excellent. I don't have connections or an account in there. So that is so appreciated. I see some great things that you guys practiced. Hunter said it went well. Nicole said my partner gave me some water. Go Nicole's partner. Lizbeth did the elephant walk and breathing. I love that. Keisha said, I know about the penguin walk. Cool. Penguin walk. We should talk about all of these. My wife returned the favor and loosey-gooseyed me the first time I had to swaddle. Oh, that's great, Tim, when you were swaddling. The first time you do all these things with baby, it's like, oh, I'm going to break the baby, right? Breathing, trying to get it ingrained in me before I go into labor. Yes, Monique, the more we practice, the better. The way that you'll just kind of just go into it, like boom, like your body's just trained like this. I seriously cannot breathe unless I do that. When I've been with my kids in their doctor's appointments and they're all tense or stressed, I'll be on the other side of the room. This is when they were younger, and I'll be like, doula for a mom. It's a new experience that you get when you have a doula for a mom. Kate, this is like the best of the night. My partner spilled the imaginary water on me. How dare your partner? I mean, that is just, I love it. I love that. You know what I love about that is that childbirth does not have to be this like boring, scary, fearful, thing. Like, let's try to make it light and connect and joyous and fun and try to bring some positivity to it. And so Kate's partner, if only I had my sound effect, I would put on the sound effect again. Okay, guys, we are back again tomorrow night. It's Monday. I'll have new topics. I will send out an email, and you guys have homework, right? What's your homework? After I hear from you, then I'll end the broadcast, but I got to hear the homework. Also, if you're still here and you're watching it on the replay and you made it all the way to the end, because most people, when they watch the replay, they only watch like the, parts of it. But if you did, tell me in the comments that you made it all the way through, because that's very interesting to me. I don't know exactly how the replays go and how people interact with not being on here live. I think being on here live is fun, but I know, especially I've heard from a couple people that are in a time zone like in Europe where it's overnight. So of course they're not going to be able to join live. So homework is to enter the drawing by sending me the music for your for the 6 healthy birth practices. And again, I'll send you, if you're on the insider list, that infographic. So you have access to it. You can read it and find out a little bit more real time. Yes, that's right, Jeff. That is our homework. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being with me again today. I am loving this group, and I hope that you are enjoying it just as much as I am. Have a great night or day wherever you are, and I'll see you guys right here tomorrow for another class. See ya. Bye, guys.